Now, from the studios of Into Tomorrow in Miami, this is ITTV.
Our next guest invented a product that focuses on creating stronger human connections in virtual settings by using middle screen webcam technology. That caught our attention, especially because quite often when we have guests on, I'm always having to remind them before our interview, because regular listeners know, and if you haven't been a regular listener yet, now you know, that we do all of our interviews on video as well. So we can show you products that they may be talking about and services and share screens and that sort of thing. So I'm always having to remind guests, okay, be sure to look at your camera so it doesn't look odd. And people are looking at their monitor because they're looking at me, they're talking to me, right? No, look at your camera, forget me. It's the audience that's important. Well, this guest has solved that problem. And you definitely want to see this video at intotomorrow.com, and you'll see what I'm talking about. The inventor, founder, and CEO. He probably also does dishes with the center cam is Ian Foster. Ian, welcome into Tomorrow. Thanks for coming on. How are you?
I'm good, and thanks for having me on the show. You have a great voice. I'm listening to you go through your introduction, and I don't think you used any reminders there. I think you just cold shot it, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's the gift of gab. You know, as a talk show host, you got to do that. But this is my real voice, and I try not to use that very often. But thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
No, it's fun watching professionals work. And I mean, 27 years in the industry, I mean, I would imagine you think you'd seen everything, but then all of a sudden, sometimes there's some surprises. But
I wish it was only 20. I wish it was only 27 years in the industry. It's just 27 years doing this show. It's about 100 years in the industry, or feels like it anyway. But it beats
in dog years, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Some years are harder than others. Right?
In dog years, I like that. I have to use that. But it does beat working for a living, as I'm fond of saying, as if this isn't work, and you can relate. So tell me first of all the story behind Center Cam. How'd this idea come up? And again, reminding our radio audience to visit us at intotomorrow.com, and you'll see how he's making this happen. But give us an idea, especially for the radio audience not yet seeing what Center Cam is.
Yeah, I've had a lot of different professions, but when I was a teenager, I had some people help me, and I've always wanted to circle back to that. So about 4 years ago, I circled back to get a master's of social work. And when the pandemic hit, I was a counselor. I was substance use counselor for teenagers in a program. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, we couldn't go to our internship sites anymore. I built relationships with some kids that were doing some good work, and all of a sudden, we couldn't go and meet with them. And so we switched to remote really quick. And so I donated a cell phone, and we got Zoom on both ends, and we had to lock it down for security reasons, because, kids with tech and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, the tech sucked. And, the kids didn't know where to look. I didn't know where to look. The dynamic you're talking about, everybody's looking, up and down and around. And that human connection that I had established with those kids, just a normal interaction that you have in person, it wasn't there. The magic was gone. And so I just thought, what could make the tech suck less?
Yes. And that's something for those 27 years we've tried to impart on our audience. We try to make tech suck less because we know that there are issues. And your example of not knowing where to look. I mean, folks take selfies all the time, where you grab somebody and you're doing a selfie, and people typically are just looking at the screen because they want to see if they're lined up, but then they take the selfie and it looks like they're just looking down. Why, my gosh, it's a picture. Why aren't you looking at the lens? That's the problem.
Yeah, it's funny. I just realized this. We have a lot. We're not very gracious with each other in the public sphere right now. I mean, I was just doing a marketing piece, reading mean troll posts, like mean Facebook posts, for marketing, because we have some funny ones, but there's a big lack of graciousness in a lot of areas of life right now. But in Zoom meetings, it's funny that we give each other so much grace to look all over the place, be in our pajamas, have audio problems, and where's the webcam? I don't know. How do I switch? I've been on so many Zoom calls now that we're just really gracious and patient with each other, and it's really nice that exists like that we're all just kind of going into this new video conference space together. That said, CenterCam is supposed to fix that a little bit. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to make it a little bit easier and a little bit kinder, and hopefully the graciousness continues, that we have with
Sure.
each other on our video conferences.
Well, and in the last couple
But
of
it does make
years,
it a little bit easier.
oh, of course, being easier is always a great way to use tech, and again, make it suck less in many cases. The last couple of years, we weren't able to have many in-studio guests for obvious reasons, some sort of pandemic or something. So, they were, yeah, what was that? Yeah. So they were all Zoom calls, and then it got to a point where, this is working out because we've talked to people literally around the world and show their products and talk about new stuff and how tech can help make your life better if you're using it properly and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course we're going to continue this. The audience has always said, oh, I love listening in the car, for example, great radio interview, but then I'm anxious to come and see the interview because you're showing the products from your guests and so forth. That's what it's all about. And by all means, if center cam can make a difference. So what is center cam? Again, think about the radio audience not yet seeing this video. What is it?
Yeah. Well, imagine your webcam placed in the middle of your screen.
Without having to drill holes through your screen.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. And a webcam, it takes up about the real estate of a racquetball, a typical webcam. Our webcam is about the size of a dime.
Oh.
And so it's on a flexible tube that's 6 millimeters wide. So it's smaller than a pencil. And so that's the real estate it takes up. But what it does is it helps you actually see the person you're talking to. It changes the focal angle. So it helps you see the person you're talking to while you're talking to them.
Got you.
One of the things that we give up, one of the main and important components of human communication is the nonverbal stuff. Estimates are that our nonverbal communication is up to 90% of the communication interaction that happens with humans. Mm-hmm. And when we have a screen edge webcam, when we're looking into the lens like you're doing right now, you're looking away from me. Well, you're actually looking at me right now, a little bit too. But when we're trying to have that good moment where we present ourselves the best we can, when we're looking into the person's eyes, we're not actually looking into the person's eyes. We're looking into the eyes of a lens.
Yeah.
And it's at the screen edge, and we've given up our audience and that opportunity to present ourselves the best, and at the end of the day to connect the best we can. So anyway, sure. It's a really small webcam, middle of the screen, allows you to see the person you're talking to while you're talking to them, and then the rest is up to you. It's not going to make you smarter, faster, richer, anything like that.
Come on, it will. It'll do all those things, and then you just put a little asterisk, and then you say, just kidding, at the bottom.
I meant it will do all of those things.
Of course it will. And what is kind of unique as well about, what you're talking about with Zoom calls, many of us have gotten very used to them for business purposes for whatever reason, not just our interviews, but I've conducted many board meetings with Zoom calls and so forth, finally getting back to whatever we call normal in person. But it's interesting because sometimes people think, especially with a lot of folks in a Zoom call perhaps, that they don't see their eye rolling. It's like, oh, please give me a break. Somebody makes some comment. But then again, if they're looking at your camera, whether you're looking at your camera or not, if they're looking at your feed, that's that interaction that you made reference to earlier, that sometimes we're not getting it, but sometimes we're seeing things perhaps we didn't intend. It's like me looking into the control room and going, oh, this guest is just going on and on and on and on. Oh, hi, you can see me, doing that. So that's part of that whole, I guess, need for good interaction. And I think that's where center cam helps that along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's some give and take. I think there's a cultural shift happening because it's not just the pandemic. It's the switch to remote work. We realized a lot of these business trips we're taking, a lot of the in-person office meetings that we're in, we can do all of that stuff remote. We can save the time and energy it takes to get to the office on business trips. We can save the carbon footprint of flying there and the hotels and all of those expenses and time that it takes. I mean, pretty much every business trip in the continental U.S. takes a day to get there, and you can't be that productive on a plane.
Well, so especially going through TSA and all that other nonsense, it's like, let's do this anytime from anywhere in the world.
Yeah. And there is a cultural, learning that's happening right now. We're all learning how to up our game a little bit online. I was in a master's program where most of it was remote, and so I was on Zoom calls all the time, and my cohort, a lot of them were in pajamas and, cats running across the screen and, because we're just, consuming the information from the teacher. So people are eating cereal and people, and that can be fixed with some standards. But at the same time, when we're in a legitimate business meeting where we want to have a good presence, where we want to act articulately, we do have to up our game a little bit, and center cam can help do that.
Well, in fact,
there are other tricks to do that without center cam, just
sure.
Putting on a clean shirt and taking a shower goes a long way.
Maybe even combing or brushing your hair a little. Go figure,
Yeah.
But again, to your point, as a guest, I'm sure you saw our pre-interview concerns, or we have like a little checklist about, being well lit, don't have a bright light behind you or something, because then we can't see your face. And one of the last things we have, of course, my idea was, if you're not wearing pants, please don't stand up. I mean, the whole concept of doing it in your pajamas or otherwise, because again,
I was honestly wondering if that was like one of the trick questions you ask your guests. I'm like,
see if you're paying attention.
I mean, if you're daring me to wear my pajamas, I will wear my pajamas.
Go for it.
My pajama bottoms.
Exactly. Go for it, by all means. I'm assuming now that the system will work with any computer, right? Any laptop, or you have a desktop monitor. Imagine if you currently have perhaps a webcam just mounted on top of your screen. It's the center cam will clip onto the top of your screen, but then it's coming down with that flexible, like gooseneck, if you will, right? To where the camera is right there.
I could show you one right now.
Please.
I've got one right here. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so it basically clips on the same place that a screen edge webcam would do, but then it's got a flex tube that comes down with a camera. So
gotcha.
Try to show you there.
Okay. And again, those listening on the radio, not yet seeing the video, visit us at intotomorrow.com and you'll see Ian holding it.
So,
sure.
I mean, it's pretty low tech, the clip, but it took a long time to figure that out, just because what we're trying to do with it. But picture a bread clip with a special, we call it a U-hook, that holds the flex tube in place securely.
Okay.
And then it's got 1 foot of flex tube. So, endoscopes, and there's certain flashlights that have bendable metal tubing.
Right.
What it is, kind of like a small conduit. And then we've got the hot off the presses, the new center cam camera body. It's got passive heat sink. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah, I can. As I move in closer to my monitor, I can see the little heat sink there. Yeah.
So there's some embellishments here, but you can kind of, I don't know if you can see our logo on the side of it, but our logo isn't just there for our logo's sake. It's there as all of the camera body is designed to be as many heat sink fins as possible. And that's important just because the operating temperature of the camera. It's got hot box chips in there that run at a high temperature. And so having more surface area to dissipate that heat helps it run better.
And of course, I'm assuming a quality camera, because you want to look your best as well, right?
Yeah, 1080p HD. It's 2 megapixel. It's comparable to most other HD cameras.
Terrific. And why flexible? Is it the idea that you can kind of bend it around if you want to maybe see the person's head, but put it in front of their mouth or something, or put it on their cheek?
Well, the rules for when we were designing it, the rules were, we want to make it as quickly and efficiently customizable to different workstations as possible. And we didn't want people fiddling around. And the problem with a solid bar, is that for different monitors, you can't make micro adjustments. And so we needed it, we wanted to be able to move it side to side, up and down quickly. Because I've been in those Zoom conferences where people are like, what's going on with my webcam? I don't know. And they don't, we're gracious with those people. We help them.
Yeah.
That being said, when 5 or 10 minutes are taken up adjusting something, it's kind of silly. So we wanted our adjustments to happen within 5 to 7 seconds.
Terrific.
And so the flex tube allows that, and you can do it with one hand.
And of course, worse, in my experience as president of homeowners associations and being on the boards of chambers and whatnot, we've been in these Zoom meetings, and you got somebody that's just in their car because it's the best way they could connect, or even at home, but it's just on a phone and they're doing this, and you're getting all like seasick. And yeah, we're somewhat patient, but then as I'm running the meeting, I have to say, listen, we're going to mute you and your video and audio, because until you can sit still for a minute, we're all just getting seasick at that point. Again, not a really good way to do it. So I'm always encouraging people, use your regular computer and a laptop whenever possible. And certainly center cam can play an important role now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're fans of a comedian that does green screen comedic Zooms. And so he puts a green screen backpack, and then he has this whole harness in front of him where he has a laptop and a webcam.
Oh, right. And then
he'll jump a snow machine while he's in a Zoom meeting. Or one, he put on these golden glove boxing gloves, and he had a boxing match while he was on a Zoom meeting with this apparatus. It was so ridiculous. But I mean, to your point, it's ridiculous sometimes, some of the things that people try to get away with on a Zoom. And so we need to up our game and a little bit on our video conferences, and CenterCam's a tool that can help you do that.
Terrific. And now CenterCam is available now, I'm assuming, and how much does it cost?
Intro package is $115, and it is available now, kind of. So we've been selling out on inventory. We shipped about 16,500 cameras now. So We've shipped a bunch. We're expecting an order this week that's going to get us caught up pretty much, and then we'll have inventory on the next shipment within about 2 weeks. But we keep on selling out, which is kind of a good problem, but it's one of those things. We launched in the middle of a chipset shortage pandemic year. And so last year was a crazy year to try to bring a new chip-based product to market. And, we've earned our stripes, though, as a team. We've learned a lot. And also, just as a shout out to our backers, like our customers and our backers have been super patient, super understanding. And we really appreciate that time that they've given us to, fulfill all of our orders.
As well you should. And our thanks to those same team members of yours, because rumor has it you're sending us a couple to give away on the air, so that'll be helpful and will help spread the word even more. So we thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us. I can see we can chat more. I'll bet you guys are going to continue to invent things and probably have a 2.0 model out sometime in the near future with
Who told you that? Who told you that?
I'll never tell, but I'm going to guess that because of what you guys do.
All of our secrets.
Nobody will ever know. Just us. It was just us on a Zoom call. Yeah. Ian Foster, inventor, founder, and CEO of CenterCam. Their website is thecentercam.com, just like it sounds. Of course, we'll get you there when you visit intotomorrow.com. Ian, thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and continued good luck to you. Hopefully you keep selling out. That's a good problem.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
It's my pleasure. Thecentercam.com, and you'll get to see what Ian and his team are up to and order, because you certainly want to try that out. Be sure and visit intotomorrow.com. Check out the video of Ian and I talking, and we're showing you this CenterCam, how it works and how cool it is and how it's going to help all sorts of things, especially with helping humans connect better with virtual meetings and then some. Into Tomorrow continues. I'm Dave Graveline. Stay tuned right here on the Advanced Media Network.